We had never paid for any marketing, and to pay somebody 50 grand at the time seemed crazy. It catapulted us. We had the best website. Everybody all of a sudden was saying, your trucks are everywhere. I see them everywhere. I said, well, it's actually the same amount of trucks we've always had. Don't just think that you're inherently good at sales because you can talk to people and you understand landscaping. Learn how to ask the right questions and really build that value in what you're selling. That really is going to separate you from the rest of the pack.
Today on the pod, we have Rich Thiebaud from LMN. Rich looks after enterprise sales. We're going to talk about Rich's history in the landscape industry, and we're also going to talk about some great tips he has for up-and-coming landscape companies. In Rich's time at LMN, he's worked with companies that are doing $200,000 a year in annual sales up to $50 million. So today he's going to share a lot of tips on what's making these companies successful. Let's jump in. Well, thanks for coming on, Rich.
No problem.
Yeah, great to run into you yesterday. I mentioned before at many different conferences.
Yeah.
You guys are full swing now for the winter, I'm sure. But let's start out with a little bit of your history and how you got started in the business and how you ended up at LMN.
Yeah, I've been doing it, feels like my whole life, right, since a kid. My family had a landscaping business, so I started at a pretty young age there. Worked in really every aspect of the business, right from, like, I call myself, I was the lowest paid employee for quite a few years, laborer, crew lead, moved into the office, a lot of design, a lot of estimating, just kind of worked my way up in every aspect. As I moved along through the business, took over sort of the administrative office side of everything, expanded quite a bit and took on the role of sort of the general manager inside the office, taking care of all the design, sales, prospecting, marketing, all that kind of thing. So then fast forward, it was 25 years doing that. There was a few factors, but really just looking for a bit of a change. I felt like we did a lot. We grew the company to 50 staff. My brother was also there at the time, younger than me, so he was there a little less time. I don't think quite maybe as burned out or looking to change as much as I was. Yeah. So we came to an agreement. He took over the business, and I quickly found an opportunity at LMN. I had a bit of a relationship with Mark, our CEO, outside of like on the business side, and we had a conversation, and I quickly joined the team at LMN. I now run the sales team, VP of sales at LMN, and really just provide that industry coaching and background to really make sure the staff understands what the industry's like, what the industry needs, really, and what and how we can really relate LMN to them. So
amazing, yeah,
it's been exciting.
I think it's fantastic too. Like, that transition has got to be so helpful coming from the background you've got in software and knowing the struggles that everybody goes through at various levels. What do you think the biggest benefit of a software like LMN is for a company? And I know what it is. We've been customers now for 15, 16 years, and I still don't know that we use it to its fullest.
Yeah.
But man, it makes it very easy to run everything that it runs. But yeah, what do you think the biggest benefit is to any company, really? It doesn't have to be a big or small company.
I do think it slightly differs depending on what size your company is when you bring it on or when you bring on software. But I can tell in most cases, in my case, it was really just providing that system to create processes and repeatable processes around it. We were at a point, we were doing around 2 million in revenue, 1.82 million. We had 15 to 20 staff. We were really at a stagnant growth point, and without a system that we were going to be able to create repeatable processes around and allow myself to bring on people that could do aspects of my job. I really had to split myself into 6 jobs. Without a system to create those processes, we couldn't have done that. So it really did everything for us in scaling. We wouldn't have gone, I say we went from 15 to 50 staff. We couldn't have done that without a software system.
Maybe tell us a little bit about the addition of Greenius as well.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that use it and how it's helped them with onboarding and training, and there's got to be a lot of kind of married benefits to have them both.
Yeah, even more. We're evolving that. It seems like every few months right now on how much it really connects with LMN. But just having a place to provide training. I mean, my personal thing was just having the content. We tried to do safety training, and it was always like, what are we going to do this week? We try to have a weekly safety training meeting. What are we going to do now? What do the crews need? And just to have that database of just fire through these videos.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're going to do. This is what's required. And then also when a new staff is onboarding, that was a big difference of, I mean, a motivated staff person understands what they need to do that day. And someone showing up for the first day, really having no idea, not even knowing where to park their car.
Yes.
I mean, that's intimidating. We had people where we would hire them and they just wouldn't show up. And I think them not being informed was probably part of that and just being scared. So being able to roll out those videos in an onboarding fashion was nice too. It just really changed the expectations of people when they started and they really understood what they were doing.
The way it streamlines the process too. And I know there's some checkpoints in there where you can have certain criteria that people must fill to kind of get to the next stage of the ladder. And I think those measurable tools are invaluable. Like you said, when people know the direction, how they need to get there, what they need to do to get there, and there's that locomotive to help them go in the right direction. I think it's a win for everybody.
People want to be safe. I would like.
Yes, absolutely.
Most of it is just they didn't know. If they're doing something that wasn't the safe way, most of the time they didn't know that.
Right.
And they want to be safe. And if you give them tools to be safe, most of the time they'll do it.
What do you think the biggest hurdle is for people finally pulling the trigger to get LMN? My opinion would likely be that it's always a struggle to add that overhead cost when you've been running a business a certain way and it seems like it's working, but not really working. It's hard to get yourself past that. It's like adding an office person. It's a hard thing to get your head around, but what do you guys find what's the decision or the way you get somebody there?
Yeah. I mean, it's always kind of like anything. It's just helping them understand the value. Again, it does seem to change a bit depending on the size of the company, but really just trying to relate to that person that has shown some interest, finding out what they do and really telling them how LMN can save them some time or create things that are more efficient for them or give them some time back for certain things. In my case, it was, I grew up as a landscaper. I wasn't a business owner. I didn't really understand how to budget.
Which is probably the majority of our owners.
Yeah. And for me, that was it. It was, I need to budget. We can't grow. I don't know where our money's going. I don't know where we're efficient. I don't know if I'm estimating properly. It was budgeting and estimating for me, which is a fairly popular one in that sort of 15 to 20 million to 2 million sort of range is really, we need to start making a process out of that.
Right.
So,
yeah. And I love the way you can build the templates. And a lot of times in business, whether you're in the maintenance end of things or design build, those templates just are so duplicatable and reusable on a frequent basis when you're estimating. Do you find like a maintenance company finds the same benefits as, say, a construction company?
Yeah, I do actually. I actually found, well, in different ways, especially when we started gathering the data on the back end where the crews were tracking their time and materials, and we were now bringing that data and updating our production rates on a real-time basis instead of guessing. It really helped with renewals on the maintenance and our snow side, where we had the data from the year to go into a renewal confident and knowing here's where we need to be with that job. And that really helped on the maintenance and snow side, is confidence in, no, we can renew at this price and we know it takes this long. We're not guessing anymore.
Right. Yeah. We've got some history and yeah, I think that's one of the more valuable parts of it for us too. The job trackers, being able to track your items by hours, having the crew leaders and supers being able to see that information and for us to scan 10 or 15 jobs in 20 minutes in the office to see where everybody's at and what's left and, throw up any red flags that there might be. And, but I think that trackable time is huge. And I think it's something that even when you don't have a software like that, you think you have a good handle on it. And often you don't. Yeah. And I think the other thing that it really opened my eyes to and my team's eyes was our overhead costs. Because I think in our industry, there's a lot of kind of fixed rate things like stone square footage should be roughly this price. Pavers are this much a square foot to install. It's not always the case, right? Depending on how your business is structured and your production rates. And there's so many variables that go into Then I have one guy in specific that came to us 4 or 5 years ago, and we gave him a hand to set up his budget. We had him price the same drawings the way he would do it normally.
Okay.
And then we priced it an LMN and came up. And it was a decent sized job. I think it was about $500,000. But we were 120 grand more.
Wow.
And it wasn't until we started building his LMN that he really understood why. Like, there were so many things that he wasn't even factoring in.
Yeah.
That are real costs.
Yeah.
But, you know, because they're not these massive costs, it's more like a cumulative thing. He just wasn't seeing it.
Yeah.
I think it's completely changed his business. And I think it's also was at a key time for him where he was having a little growth spurt. And if he wouldn't have done that, anything could have happened.
Yeah, that can be dangerous when you grow and you don't have that information.
Yeah.
I found it too. One thing it opened up for me a lot was knowing that base, like that cost, that break-even cost on jobs. The simplest jobs, you go in with a quote at 15 grand, whether it's 15 grand, 500 grand. And the customer is always asking, well, could you do it for this much? I mean, before it was a guess. I think I can. We'll just work a little bit harder.
Right.
But now I know I can't. I know where my cost is. I know my cost is 13.2 and it's a $15,000 job. Can you do it for 13? No, I can't. I will lose $200. It's not worth me doing the work. And that's the number
plus the 15 I would have made.
Sure. Yeah. That's a number I didn't have.
Right.
And so I couldn't be confident in answering that question.
It's a great point because so many guys struggle with it.
Yeah.
And especially in today's market. You know, it's probably a good place to transition to. Like, we talked briefly yesterday about, you know, some tips or ideas on how guys can help close, because I think the thing we're seeing now is there's so many people getting many estimates because they know the market's a little lighter. And, you know, guys are getting that sort of conversation frequently now, whereas during COVID, it wasn't, you know, if you had the time and you had the people, you got the job.
Sure.
Whereas now I think, you know, you're multiple estimates, and then, you know, they're grinding at the end. What do you think are some benefits, not just with LMN, but just as a business owner, to try and sell yourself and explain why what you're going to deliver is different than maybe what they are from somebody who's dramatically less?
Yeah, that's something I've actually learned a lot more about since I've stepped away and talked to a lot more landscapers now, obviously, have a bigger perspective on all of Canada and the US now with how many events I go to and talk. And I'm really seeing a separation between landscapers that take the time to learn how to sell and not just, like you said, the work's going to fall in my lap, or I'll just bring a really nice design and say, here's the price, and they'll just buy it.
Right.
I found myself doing that too many times. Really learning how to ask the right questions and really learning, why are they buying? Why do they want this? Why did they call you? What are they hoping to get out of this? And making sure that your proposal aligns to that. And you can hit on all those points. But I think we get stuck just asking, what would you like?
Right.
Or let me tell you, you'd like a pool here or a patio here, or with a maintenance job, I just want my lawn cut. Well, tell me a little bit about what you do in your lawn. Tell me a little bit about why you're doing this, why you don't have time to cut your lawn. Have you had a cut in the past? Was there anything that contractor could have done a little bit better for you? And just digging in on and asking the whys here. Just digging in and asking the whys and really connecting your proposal to that. Not being afraid to go do some sales training, watch some YouTube videos. We're salespeople. It doesn't come naturally to people, even though we think sometimes, well, I'm great at talking to people. I can sell anything. I'm really noticing a separation now, and I'm really noticing it being adopted in the industry a little bit more on people learning how to sell. And it's not talking people into anything. We're not misleading anyone. We're solving problems, but we have to learn how to ask the right questions.
Yeah. Be a good listener and ask the right questions.
Yeah.
I think you get this like instant credibility from a customer as well when you're able to suggest things that they hadn't. Because often I find what happens is you get a customer, say on a backyard project, they've already got a vision of how they think they want it to look. But there's many things that they haven't maybe accounted for, like sun or drainage or whatever it might be. So to be able to walk them through and explain why you think it's better in a certain area, or why this might be better suited for that space, or whatever the reason is, this type of plant material, colors, whatever. I think when you can do that and ask those questions of them, it just gives you some instant they know that you've been through the process. You've got experience, obviously.
Sure.
You understand their needs, but also, understand what it's going to take to get to the end. So
yeah, shade and sun, like it was a perfect example. I used to, near the end of before I made the transition, I started asking people, walk me through your perfect weekend in your backyard.
Right.
Let's not talk about anything
great
specific.
question.
Just
Great
walk me
question.
through your perfect weekend. I want to know when this is done,
Mm-hmm.
what does that look like to you?
Yeah.
And I'll get some amazing.
Yeah. Who's using it? How old are the kids?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to host
Grandparents.
birthday parties back here. Like, what does that look like? What are you going to do? You're home by yourself for a weekend. What are you going to do in the backyard? Just, and you get some information there rather than, would you like a pool? Would you like a patio? Would you like this? Like they don't know that. Maybe they know how they want it to feel, but you're the expert and you need to solve that for them and connect that.
Right. Yeah. And I think, just to add to that, it kind of gets me thinking about design as well, and like making sure that they completely understand what you're offering for your price. Because I think in today's market, there can be a massive variance in price, but what one person is pricing might be completely different than what somebody else is pricing. So I think having a good plan, whether it's a simple sketch or full-blown 3D render, or I also feel like we don't have to get into design too much, but I think design creates a lot of value and a lot of credibility when you bring it to the table as well. But let's maybe talk a little bit about your more like personal side of business and how that experience goes. You're obviously traveling a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have family and kids? And
3 kids.
Yeah, three. Wow.
3 teenagers.
That's busy.
At the moment. Yeah.
That's busy.
Yeah.
But what do you find are kind of like some non-negotiables for you, like as far as time management? I think a lot of young entrepreneurs struggle with creating time, or they think, in the landscape industry especially, or in the trades industry in general, when you've come from the field, you have this mindset of, if I just work more, I work harder. But there's really got to be that time to dedicate and focus on your family and your kids and yourself. And
it's that's non-negotiable.
Yeah. Like, do you have any tips for guys who are struggling with it that might help?
Yeah. I mean, I can tell the biggest one for me, and maybe it resonates with some people. I mean, I was doing too many evening appointments. I was, when I first going to make this transition to the office, I'm going to run the business now. I was doing too many evenings, and I was not saying no enough. Sure.
Right.
I'll do Monday night. I'll do Tuesday night. I'll do whatever. Funny enough, before all this transition happened, it was at one of Mark's talks, and he talked about how he never did a call after 5:00.
Right.
And I was like, why? I mean, nobody's going to buy from me. And he said, when you tell them that if this job is important to them and they value your time, all of a sudden they'll find time for you.
Right.
And I didn't know if I should believe him, but I tried it. And it's funny. All of a sudden, when you're not available at 6 p.m., oh, well, you know what? I could be home early on Friday. And
right.
Okay, thank you. And I would literally say, you know what? I spend my evenings with my family and my kids, and this is a big job, and I know it's going to be important to you, but I do need to meet you during the day.
Right.
And that was a big shift of me not just saying, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. And that just kind of changed everything for me when I realized
I
that.
think that explanation's great as well, because anybody would understand that.
Yeah.
Right.
I wasn't afraid to tell them why. That's why I'm doing it. I have family at home. And I don't want to miss out on that. So.
No, I think it's good. I think I struggled with that for a long time too. I used to go out Saturday, Sunday. If somebody called me with an issue on a Saturday afternoon, I'd be in the truck and gone.
Yeah.
And maybe there is a time for that when you first start out, because you're trying to build a name and you're trying to provide good service. And but I think the more you're able to step back from it and have that, I hate the term balance, but like that more structured schedule,
sure,
where you have, you're using the calendar well and scheduling well, it's easy to get customers on the same page. And
you could start, it doesn't have to be every night. You could say, you know what, I only do evenings on Wednesdays.
Right.
The other nights I spend with my family, and maybe you have to start it that way. Or I'm busy in the field, I'm smaller, I'm starting out, so I'm going to do Saturday mornings, but that's it. I'm not doing afternoons. I'm not coming out on a Sunday. There's no landscaping emergencies.
Yeah.
I learned that too.
Yes.
I mean, the customer might think it is, but it's not an emergency.
Right.
Yeah.
What sort of partnerships helped you when you were, more so on the construction side, like with your vendors, and, was it a lot of builder work that you were getting referrals from, or landscape architects, or what sort of things did you guys do to generate your business?
It was almost all referral based before we kind of made that decision to grow. It was referral based. People saw our trucks around, that kind of thing. Shortly after we brought on LMN, we really were like, okay, we're going to grow now. We're ready. We took a big leap. At the time anyway, felt like a big leap. It seems silly now, but we paid a marketing company to come in, rebuild our website, and then refresh our brand, I'll call it. They wanted $50,000, which sounds silly right now that I'm saying that was a big deal, but it was a really big deal for us. We had never paid for any marketing, and to pay somebody $50,000 at the time seemed crazy. It catapulted us. We had the best website. Everybody all of a sudden was saying, your trucks are everywhere. I see them everywhere. I said, well, it's actually the same amount of trucks we've always had. You can just see them now. So that was a great partnership. We ended up keeping them on as a retainer every year, and just having a company that was a professional at it.
Right.
And me not trying to go, what do people like? Should we put an ad on this website? Should we do this? Should we do this? Like, I didn't know. I stuck to what I was good at, and I listened to these people, and that was a big contributor to us taking off, is that partnership with a marketing agency that took the time to understand our customers and do it right.
You know, it's always tough to make that decision to pull the trigger on something like that. But I think it's true of a lot of things that you can hire for, you know, whether it's a marketing or photography or website designer. There's so many great avenues to utilize some money and hire people that do it every day.
Yeah.
You know, I remember years ago, we tried to, we were going to go through a revamping process. We ended up hiring a company and they did our website and everything too about 3 years ago. And it was funny. We had already been in business 17 years, hadn't changed the brand. And honestly, I don't want to say it didn't change our business, but it was more for us. Like, it was more for the team, and we took a year to do it, and we had the vision boards and all the things that you do to go through it, and all these different palettes to pick from. And it was just a really fun process. And I think it just made us more proud of the logo and how it looks and what it represents. And
the crews all got new gear. They got new shirts. Everybody loved it. It was exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah. I think that value in outsourcing some of that stuff is sometimes overlooked. Vendor partnerships. Like, did you have to work hard on those? Like, where were you from again, or where was the business?
East of Toronto.
Okay. Because I know, like, in our area, we deal with a fairly small area, big market.
Yeah.
But there's lots of vendor competition. But inevitably you make relationships, and you know, you nurture those and work with the people that have helped you. And did you find it was the same there, or was there just so many people to pick from that you were able to move around a bit?
Yeah, there was a lot to pick from. We had a lot of choices. We could have went with whoever was giving us the best price. We stuck with one. The power of sticking with one, to me, even though they might not be always the cheapest price, they got us things when we needed them.
Yes.
I was at the top of their list. If I needed 500 square feet of pavers and some other company also needed it, I was probably going to get it, because I just bought everything there, and we created that relationship, and that became very valuable when there was shortages, even snow season with things like salt. We bought it from them as well, and we ended up being one of their largest customers. And when I needed material, I got material, and that wouldn't have happened if I just said, I'll just go buy from whoever's cheapest. So they became a really good partner for us, and really were there when we needed them, when we were in a jam or we needed them for growth. And then they were a distributor, so they would help us go to battle with the manufacturers if I had a problem with something,
warranty issue, or
and they were in our corner for that. So that really helped. So I believe in creating a good relationship with a local vendor that you know and you can trust, and then work from there. It's not always about the cheapest price. So
yeah, fully agree. And I think that's something that sometimes also gets overlooked. And I think certainly in seasons like this, being able to have conversations with your vendors and your various partnerships to, you know, maybe it's to get some longer terms, or you know, some delivery discount or something. When you have those types of relationships, it's just so much easier to have those conversations.
Yeah. I got jobs out of it. I mean, some of our large snow jobs when, a few years back, there was salt shortages.
Mm-hmm.
We had trouble getting salt. A lot of companies did.
Right.
A lot of contracts, the property owners got worried, like, is this person going to be able to get salt
Right.
when I need to? So I would be able to get letters from him saying, this is how much I have put aside for OGS.
Right.
I can guarantee it will be available. And just the power of being able to present them with something like that and go, okay, they're one of their top 3 customers. We know that vendor. They're saying they're getting them salt whenever they need it. So just the power, I mean, it ended up becoming a sales pitch in some of my larger contracts.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. And I think those are the types of things that help everybody.
Yeah.
One other question I had for you, and I only asked this because I experienced it a bit this year, but the question is, what's it like to work with Mark all the time? And the reason I ask is my wife and I got to spend a few days with him this summer. And I was saying to the guys earlier, every night going to bed, we would have these incredible conversations.
Yep.
Not always about business, but, all, life, fitness, cars, dirt bikes, fishing, whatever. What an amazing guy to have quality time with.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just curious as to your take on Mark now that you've been there for a while, and I'm sure you've seen the full effect.
Yeah. Yeah, very much the same as what you said. He's an inspiring guy. He really does. He cares a lot about the people that work for him.
Yes.
And not just about the work they're doing, but about their personal life and that they're successful in all their aspects of life.
Mm-hmm.
He takes the opportunity to make sure he knows as many people as he can within the business. At a trade show, he's talking to all the staff individually when he's here,
Mm-hmm.
making sure he knows them. And he really does truly care. That's been great to see. And the conversations are great. We were in a car yesterday coming from another event we were at. The 2 of us were in the car for an hour and don't really think we talked about work that much. We talked about my kids, his kids, some entrepreneurial things, some books he's reading, and he's an inspiring guy, and he does truly care about the people that work for him and understands that there's a work-life balance. Now he'll say it, he said it yesterday, he's a hard guy to work for in a way. And he says he is, but his expectations are high.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants people that are invested in doing their job and doing it at a high level. And, I mean, for me, that's the way I have always done things and the way I operate. And, I don't find Mark hard to work for because I have clear expectations for Mark and I know what Mark wants. And, I know if I get those done and meet those, that's my job. And
recipe for success.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When those two connect, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I love it. Yeah. And you're right. He's super inspiring and creative and all those good things. So to wrap up, the one thing I wanted to ask you about was, as an industry, where do you kind of see us going in the next 5 to 10 years? We've just come off of COVID. I think we're kind of in this little bit of a low right now where unfortunately a lot of companies are struggling. And I think, from what I've seen, I think we're going to see a big improvement probably towards the end of 26. And I guess it's twofold. Like, where do you see it going? And what do you think guys could do in the meantime, or entrepreneurs could do in the meantime to kind of prepare themselves knowing that things are going to get good again?
Yeah. I mean, I look at it kind of, I like to look on the bright side. I mean, when things are high, you always know there's a down coming. Now we're in that down. Now we know we're going to rebound. And it's just about how you prepare. This is a time to work on yourself, work on your business, work on the jobs you do have, work on the client relationships you do have. What we talked about earlier about selling, get better at it. And as we rebound, you're now ahead of the curve and you're going to win. So when times are tough and things are harder, work on your skills. If you're really good at sales, work on your employee relationships. If you're really good at your employee relationships, work on your sales. I know there's something everybody is sitting there thinking I could be better at. Work on those things now because they're going to help you get through this time if you work on them, and you're going to be ahead of the curve. And to me, we're closer to things rebounding than we are to the bottom right now. So,
Rich, what's something you would offer up to younger businesses that could benefit them now and help accelerate some of their growth?
Yeah.
Do you have any mechanisms that, could be a good change for them?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've learned based on my company experience, and now based on almost 2 years here at LMN, talking to hundreds of landscapers, really, I mean, it's a couple things for me. It's getting better at sales. Don't just think that you're inherently good at sales because you can talk to people and you understand landscaping. Watch videos, take courses, whatever you need to do, and learn how to ask the right questions and really build that value in what you're selling. That really is going to separate you from the rest of the pack. That it's not a popular thing in landscaping yet.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe it will be, but it's the ones that get it right first and really understand how to sell and sell the value of what they're bringing to the customer that are going to separate themselves. We were talking yesterday. I know a young company where they have an outbound sales rep right now, which is the first time I've seen that in a smaller company. I mean, I see that in these I see that in these 20, 30, $40 million landscape companies. I don't see it in $5 million landscape companies. And I talked to a younger guy that has an outbound sales rep that is literally just outbound calling to whoever they can find in their local geo areas that might need landscaping, talking to them about what they can bring to the table and getting meetings for him. He's still the salesperson in this case on his calendar to go sell.
Fantastic.
And just working on, hey, we have a job here. We're going to call everyone around here until we can get a meeting. And just the concept of that is new. And those are the people I think that are really going to get ahead. So that's one, is just working on your sales game, getting better at it. Don't just automatically assume because you're a good landscaper, you can sell it. The other one is really connecting numbers. We hear a lot about job costing. It's a word everybody kind of throws around. I think it's tracking, it's numbers. We get the numbers, we have the materials, we know we have all these numbers, but I find there's companies that have them but aren't really doing anything with them.
Yeah.
They're gathering it all. They're taking a quick look at it. Oh, that one didn't turn out so well, and they move on. But using those numbers now, fix your production rates quickly, not at the end of the year. Fix it as you go.
Yeah.
Just because you could do a patio or cut a lawn at X amount rate last year doesn't mean you can this year. Your people might be different. Your training might be different. You might be slower. You might be faster. Don't have a rate from 5 years ago. This is how fast we cut lawns 5 years ago. That means nothing today.
Right.
So really taking those job costing numbers and updating your rates and keeping on top of it and knowing exactly how long it takes to do things when you're estimating. That's the one that helped me the most. And if I had to look back, I would have, if I had that like I did, and that's helped me the most, and I could tie the sales into it, we would have been a lot more successful.
Great advice and a great way to end the pod.
Yeah.
I think lots of great tidbits there today, guys. I think there's a lot of great info that came from the conversation. And thanks again, Rich, for making the time. And good to see you again. And I'm sure we'll see you again in the near future.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, pleasure.
Appreciate it.